Morning everyone, Daniel Linder here. I'm the creator of the relationship model of addiction. What I want to be doing on these videos is to make a difference in your life and be a guidepost for you on your journey in recovery, transitioning out of unhealthy relationships that support your addiction or support addiction, and getting into healthy relationships, emotionally nourishing relationships that support self-growth. I had an amazing week this week in terms of insights and just crystal clear revelations that bear on what we've been talking about for the last several weeks, which is about in the second stage. I've been focusing on the second stage of recovery for the last several weeks, developing a relationship with yourself and what that means. And so this week, what happened was there was a connection that I made between powerlessness and worthlessness. And that in itself was a powerful connection, which I'll explain in a moment. And in addition, I was able to use this insight to kind of apply the relationship model of addiction, particularly these stages of recovery that I was talking about, the breakup and developing a relationship with yourself, stage 1 and 2, and compare that with the 12 steps, particularly the 12-step program, the first 3 steps. So this is incredible. And so what happened was, actually the theme for the week was about powerlessness and what gets in the way of admitting that you're powerless. What gets in the way? So step number 1 in the 12 steps is admitting that you're powerless over whatever your addiction is, whether it's alcohol or sex or gambling or whatever it is, and that your life has become unmanageable. Step 2 is come to believe that a power greater than yourself can restore you to sanity or stability. So you come to believe. The third step is make a decision that you're going to turn your will and life over to this higher power. And so when I'm working with these people, this one person in particular this week, who's early in recovery, and he's early in recovery. So basically, he's at the first step. We're talking about breaking up. Is he breaking up? Does he want to break up with this terrible relationship? And for the last several weeks, he's been kind of sputtering. He's been kind of saying, yeah, I want to break up, but I don't. He's been ambivalent about it. He kind of came right out and said at some point that he doesn't want to do anything that we've been telling him that he needs to do and what he's been hearing he needs to do, whether it's individual therapy or go to 12-step meetings or get support or follow some kind of program. He's going to do it on his terms. He's going to do it his way on his terms. And so I didn't want to get into a struggle with him about it. I didn't want to get into a power struggle with him and say, well, you have to admit, the first step is admitting that you have a problem, that you're in over your head, that the relationship is bad, and that you want to break up because it's destroying your life. So he started elaborating more, he started opening up more about his willpower, that he believes he doesn't have to listen to what anyone else says. He doesn't have to do what everyone else says. He's completely reliant on his willpower. And he's saying, look at what I accomplished. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't my willpower, my ability to do whatever I put my mind to, accomplish everything I can accomplish and want to accomplish by determination. And so with this idea of his total reliance on willpower, he wanted to kind of have a different kind of relationship. Rather than breaking up completely, he wanted to turn this into a relationship where he could still engage in the activity. In this case, it's drinking, but he wanted to be able to still control it, maybe drink less, do it recreationally, without damage control, without getting out of control. And so it was clear to me that he couldn't do it, but he was hell-bent on relying on his willpower. So as we continued talking about it, and this was in a group, people were sharing, and it came out that his identity and his sense of self-worth was based on what he understands he can do with his willpower And if he can't do something with his willpower, what does that mean? That means that he would be an abject failure, loser, and worthless. He would be totally worthless. So he could not admit that he was powerless, or that he needs to break up and can't go back to it, because that would mean that he is worthless. So we worked with him on that, and we talked about it. There were different people in the group sharing about how being powerless and admitting that you're out of control and that you can't do everything that you necessarily believe you can, or want to believe you can. That there's some humility there, that there's some recognition that you're limited in terms of some situations, some relationships are just going to destroy you. So he was really, I don't know that he made the shift right then on the spot, but it was food for thought for him. It was pause for him to stop and think about and go into the question, if I'm powerless and I'm really out of control, does that mean I'm worthless? Does that mean I'm a nothing and a nobody? Or how could I have any dignity if I admit that I'm powerless over something? So I want to tweak the 12 steps, getting back to, I think the 12 steps are great. These first 3 steps are so incredibly powerful. However, the implication I have problems with when the terms higher power are used, or God is used, where you're turning your will and your life over to God and a higher power. I believe from the relationship model perspective, where you need to break up in the first stage and sustain stabilization, and in the second stage, develop a relationship with yourself. The first 3 steps would read as follows. I admit that I'm powerless, I'm out of control, my life has become unmanageable. That's great. This is a perfect correlation to step 1 in the 12 steps and the relationship model of addiction. The next 2 steps come to believe that a power greater than myself could restore me to sanity. Not sure about that. And then make a decision to turn my will and life over to that power that's outside of myself. Not sure about that. For me, the relationship model of addiction and the 3 stages of recovery, particularly the second stage now I'm talking about, developing a relationship with yourself, is about being able to admit that I'm powerless, admit that you're powerless, and that you're still okay. It doesn't mean that you're a bad, worthless piece of crap human being, that you're fallible, that you're vulnerable, that you're limited. And coming up with that humility actually requires feeling okay and worthwhile in that truth. You have to get to a place that in yourself where your well-being and sense of self-worth is internally based. Remember, we talked about codependency and addiction being such where your sense of well-being and self-worth is externally based. It's based on other people, other relationships, external sources, or a needing for relief completely, where the second stage of recovery is about establishing an internal source, an internal base for your well-being and for relief, where you can go in yourself and feel okay and feel like there's nourishment and comfort and acceptance and love and light and warmth and aliveness and wholeness within yourself. So I hope that makes sense to you right now about how I tweaked the 12 steps and applied it, made the relationship model of addiction fit along with that, and piqued your interest to look at when you're feeling powerless, when you're out of control, what comes up for you to be able to say, yeah, I'm powerless, I'm out of control when this kind of thing comes up, or I don't know, or I'm confused, or I'm uncertain, or I'm not sure. Any of those things, any of those responses that you have in the moment that's short of, I can do it, I'm sure, I'm confident, anything short of that where you could still feel whole and human and okay inside is what developing a relationship with yourself is about. So, okay, I'm going to wind down now. In winding down, again, if this was valuable, if you found this valuable to you, I'd really appreciate it if you can leave a comment, because I'm giving this. I want to give this information to you. I want to make a difference in your life, and what I want in return is just to be received. I want to know that you got some of these points and how it was for you. So let me know that you received this stuff. I'll still give it. Don't worry, I'll still give it. But ultimately, as a giver of this training and this information, I want to be received. So until then, the quality of your relationships is the quality of your life.